Good morning, YouTube followers. I love that you come back every time I post something, and I really am enjoying this little journey on my YouTube channel. Yeah, it is fun. Isn't that fun? All these cars. There's a piece of fabric in my stash that has all of these eyeballs and cars. It's so much fun. And what do you do with a little strip like this? Well, I've been cleaning my cupboard at the back of the room here. And when I start going through each of those little containers of colorful fabric bits, I have in these rows here, I have fat quarters in little baskets, and some of them are color coordinated, but some of them are not color coordinated. They're just hanging out there for fun. And then over in this side, I have some bins. Over in this side here, I have some bins. This one is all just scraps. It's bits and pieces of all colors. But I have some bins that have unified color coding in them. But when I go through them at this time of year, I come across pieces that I've got in there that are one-ofs. There's no more of this bicycle thing, and that's it. So when I find all these bits, I have to think about how am I going to use them. And sometimes there's a whole bunch of things that are really brilliantly bright. Here's a whole bunch of things that are bright. Some pumpkins, not much there. This piece is a one-of piece. It's brilliant. And I just am trying to think of ways that I can utilize these things. So most of them are strips. This one here is a strip, and it is not uniform, but it's 2.5 inches. It's 2.5 inches. So that one could go into a strip bin that I could use as part of a binding. It would work as part of a binding, or I could just use it in something with strips. But that one is 2.5 inches, but it's a piece that's going to stay for a while. See, evaluating these things, this one is cut out from something weird, but there's not much useful thing in here to make squares or a number of squares. So this one is going to go into something like random widths. So that goes in a different place than that other one. But for the most part, I've got a bunch of pieces here that have some width and have some length. Like there's that piece. There's a couple other little pieces that are the same as that. So when I'm sorting them out, I have to think, what am I going to do with these things? Am I just going to I have to think about how to unify some of this stuff. So when I look through my fabric, sometimes I come across something like this that has all these multicolors. So this is a good color combination for that. This goes with that because there's that dark pink in there. This goes with that really nicely. So I've got all of these things, little bits and pieces, and I'm starting to think I've got to cut these up into uniform sizes and try to make something out of it. And I need to have enough of a color to make something that is going to look uniform. So some things I have only enough that I could, with a small square, I have enough that I can cut 3-inch squares. Yeah, 3-inch squares. So this one that was 2.5 is going to stay out. And that one there that's odd is staying out. But some of these others that I've got here, like this pumpkin row, this pumpkin piece, and this bicycle piece, I mean, I can get a 3-inch square out of that. So there's enough of the bits and pieces here that I can get 3-inch squares. And because I'm going to use this as an inspiration, I've gathered on my tabletop all the bits and pieces, all the bits and pieces that have these colors in it. And when I'm starting to look at them, there's not all that many of some colors and there's more of other colors, but I've got quite a bit of this as a unifier. So this could be used around the outside as some kind of a border or sashing in between blocks. I could just make 4-patch blocks that are 3 inches, or I could make like trip around the world. There are lots of things I can do with blocks, squares. And I think because there's not a uniform amount of each of these pieces, I'm going to have some with very few of these fabrics and some with more of these fabrics. Like this cars, there's quite a bit of that. So orange is going to be dominant in this, and probably blue, because I really like the fact that this these look good together as colors, but as patterns they're really odd together. And how do you put these patterns together so that they're going to make something that is, wow, that's going to look all right. So that's my task today. I'm going to decide what to do. And I'm just going to start by cutting 3-inch squares. And 3-inch squares are easy enough. These are all kid-friendly prints. So I'm going to make something that is a child quilt. Probably it will be 40 inches by 60 inches when it's done. But all of these little bits and pieces that I've picked out, there's not much of any of them, so I want to use up a lot of this stuff. Here's a piece of that. So there's quite a selection of colors. So I'm going to have to mix up, the sort of bold ones with the ones that have more white in them, with other colors that are going to go in between. And I think I'm just going to do a wave of blocks, because it's going to start with the ones that I've got the fewest amount of blocks, fewest amount of squares, and then it'll migrate into the bigger parts, and when I get to the other end, there'll be again the fewest number of blocks or squares that I have of that fabric. But I think it will use up quite a bit of this fabric, and what doesn't get used up in this one will go back into the scrap bag, and it'll go used for the next one. So I'm going to stop at this point, and I'll come back when I have an idea and it's going to work. So I'll see you in a couple minutes. So here I've made a good start in cutting and piecing the fabrics that I was talking about. And I had just enough to make 4 Ronald McDonald heads. And then these are push pins. And I've added some tone-on-tone blocks to sort of temper faces and go into another color, and use some liberal amounts of white backing. And then now here's another swath of kind of dark, bold colors. And here's my focus fabric in there. I'll probably have a couple of rows of this focus fabric, another one down here and another one down there. But I'm just thinking that they're 3-inch blocks. To make something that's going to be 40 inches across, I have to have 20 blocks across. And right now I have 16, so I've got four more rows to go over here. And then I'll fill in part of this, and then down at the bottom, set aside some of the ones that were at the top, and it will balance out the colors when I get there. So it's just a matter of standing back and looking, and then cutting another bunch of squares and putting them in the mix, and it will just continue. I love, this is SpongeBob. I got to get to the cars soon. They'll come on this side, I think, an orange, a blue, a white, a blue, an orange, and it'll continue. It'll be fun. I like it so far. But the thing is, when I want to sew it, I have to take them off the wall one at a time, and I'm going to make them in squares, I think, and then I'll do a square, and then I'll do a square, and I'll do a square. But it'll work. It's a lot of little pieces, so I want to keep them in the correct order. That's important, in the correct order. Oh, yeah. Next. So the cars didn't really get a very big part. You have to really fussy cut some of those things, and I didn't really have enough space in 3-inch square to make the cars a feature, so I just sort of focused on their eyes. But here's the rest of it. I sewed them together in chunks. Chunks are easy to sew together on my desktop, and then I just sewed the chunks together when I had them finished. Gave it a good press. Now I'm going to quilt it as one piece, and I will use some of the leftover bits that I have and make a scrappy binding for the outside. When I quilt this, I'm just going to do diagonal rows, and that will focus on the fact that this wave is a lovely color combination. So I'll just finish it off and show you the end. Now all the quilting is done. I put a backing on it with the same backing, so I quilted it all in one piece. I did a diagonal quilting row with my walking foot that just went diagonally through all of the blocks. Lots of quilting on that to hold it together. I also used a blue binding for it. I think that adds a nice touch to the edge. And by the way, my backing is orange, so it's really quite a colorful quilt, all finished. I like all of those prints. I might have done better if I fussy cut some of them, but I think it's a great quilt. And that is another done project. If you like this project, give me a thumbs up, please. And if you haven't subscribed, I would really appreciate if you would subscribe. I'll see you the next time. Thanks for watching.